We want to end price gouging, we want tax reform, and we want justice reform in this justice system. And then lastly, we want electoral reform. We do have more demands and more details on our website, which is CanadaFreedom.ca.
What do you think as an organizer? How do you think today went so far? I know it's not over, but how do you think the beginning went?
I think for the time that we took to plan it and the outcome that we have today, it was an absolute success. I mean, this is kind of a 3-week project in the making, between Ethan kind of doing the lion's share of the work and coordinating with a few of us leaders. The fact that we had this many people today is a lot more than what we expected, to be honest. I mean, we had 300 people RSVP online, so that's not always the greatest barometer depending on who's going to show up. But that being said, I think there's at least 150, 200 people here alone. Sure. So that shows us that at least the message got out.
All right, so we are here with Ethan Duggan, the leader of Take Back Canada. The march has just wrapped up. The protest is over. Ethan, before we get into what brought everyone here, tell me what you think. Tell me about how you think the day went today.
The day went really well. It went, about as well as we could have expected. The speakers we had were great. They did a great job. It really was exactly what we were hoping for it to be, was a coming together of Canadians of all stripes.
One of the things you mentioned in your speech was that the wheels of history are turning in this country, and it's time for people to wake up and seize the moment, because the Canada that we've all grown up in is not the Canada that we're currently living in. I know we touched on this in our interview, but I want you to elaborate more on what you were really trying to get at in your speech in that moment.
Well, it's not just Canada. You really have to look around the world, and you really have to understand that, history is still ongoing, and we've been in a very unnormal part of history for the past 30 years, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, and perhaps a little bit before that, where we believe that things are going to be generally peaceful and just going to work out in the first world and keep getting better because our technology is getting better. We don't understand that there's, perhaps a lot of chickens coming home to roosts now and in the near future. Things are going to keep getting worse unless we do something, and people aren't ready for that, I don't think.
You've organized this, you've led this protest, but and what do you think it requires, and what do you think it takes to make this much bigger, much more nationwide, and make this issue a major issue in the federal election?
Well, that's a great question. This was our first attempt. This is my first attempt at doing anything political, being part of any movement, and I would say it was quite successful for that. I'll have to do a bit of an autopsy and see how things went in the other cities. Toronto was a great success. I hope Ottawa went well. I hope everywhere went well. And we'll just have to take a look and learn the lessons we're going to learn. Again, we're completely new at this, so I think I might have said in our interview, we'll see how it goes no matter what. We're going ahead with this, and I'm sure it'll be messy in places, and we'll learn what lessons we do.
What would you say to people, to Canadians who want to speak up on immigration, who want to tackle this issue but are afraid to? They're afraid to be called racist. They're afraid to be put down and called names. What would your message be to those people who want to do something but feel as though they can't?
I would say, just look what we had here. We had so many people of all walks of life, of all backgrounds. Don't be afraid. I think that we're moving past the point where you have to be afraid of that. I don't think I've been able to find anyone that doesn't think that what's going on right now is a problem.
And as you can see here, there's quite a large turnout in support of this protest. Probably 400, maybe 500 people here at its peak. It's the first of many, we've been told by the protest leader. This is not the end of Take Back Canada. This is not the end of protests against mass immigration. I think it's just going to begin. And what happens to the election in 2025? Is mass immigration going to become the main issue in the election, or are politicians going to try to run away from it like they seem to be doing right now? Are Canadians going to force this issue upon politicians? Is the legacy media going to make this a big issue? I wouldn't bet on it, and I think it would be wise to assume they wouldn't. But that doesn't mean that it can't. That doesn't mean that Canadians should let it slide. This is the biggest issue facing Canada. This is the most important issue facing the future of our country. So it falls upon Canadians to make this issue the biggest issue in the next federal election.